All right. Thank you for joining, everybody. We're going to give it a minute here to let everyone join in, and then we'll get started in just a moment. All right, we'll get things kicked off here. Cool. I just wanted to go through a quick agenda for today. Stephen Thomas, who is hosting the webinar, will give him a quick introduction on himself. Stephen will then go over a quick overview on how Fieldwire can be used in general. After that, he'll dive into a couple specific use cases on how GCs can use Fieldwire to manage and track work on a project. And then at the end, we'll have 5 minutes to answer questions. So if you guys have any questions, please put them into the question box on the right. And then any questions we do not have time to answer, our team will follow up and answer those after the webinar. Without further ado, I will let Stephen take it away.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dylan. And thanks everybody for joining us here today. I'm pretty excited. I wanted to host one of these webinars for a while, so this will be fun. Just wanted to briefly introduce myself before we get started. Like a lot of our team here at Fieldwire, I worked in the construction industry myself for a bit before coming on over to the tech side of things. So I started out as an assistant super while I was still in college on a high-rise project, and then worked as a project engineer / coordinator for a Canadian general contractor for a couple years after that. My role here at Fieldwire is a construction success manager. So what I do is I work with clients to kind of help them get set up in Fieldwire, figure out how to customize it to really suit their needs, and then run training sessions, answer product questions, and just generally kind of help support our customers. So before we get into kind of the live demonstration, the main content of Fieldwire, I just wanted to give a brief overview of the platform for anybody who's not really familiar with it or maybe hasn't used all the features in it. Start off, unlike I think a lot of other products in the market, they're more focused on back-end, like project management functions such as cost control or change orders. Fieldwire is really focused on field productivity, on making field teams efficient and connecting the field teams and office teams. So we have a number of different tools to help us do that. For accessing information, we have a plan viewer and plan markup tools, along with a 3D model viewer. Both of these work on mobile and on a computer. We also have tools to plan and manage work, primarily our task management engine, which is a great way of tracking information and planning and scheduling work. It's a really robust tool, and we'll be diving into that a little bit further today. We also have tools for reporting on progress. Lots of teams take their progress photos for the job all in Fieldwire. We have a number of reporting tools to export information from our tasks, and we have a custom form builder that can be used to document information on site on the go. This custom form tool is a great way of digitizing any forms you might be doing right now on paper or in like Word or Excel, such as timesheets, T&M tickets, daily reports, or inspections. Now, those are different tools we have available. I want to give everybody an idea of, what are the most common use cases for Fieldwire that a lot of general contractors employ. Kind of anecdotally, I've listed out 5 here that I think are pretty popular. So mobile plan viewing, just being able to see your drawings while you're out on site from a phone or tablet. Document control, making sure all stakeholders on the job have the latest plans, important files like RFIs and submittals. Managing the punch list process in Fieldwire, doing your progress photos, and daily reports. These are all really popular use cases for general contractors, and we'll be touching on a couple today, but we're not going too far in depth. We have a lot of resources on these and have actually done webinars on many of them in the past. So if you're interested in learning about any of these specifically, feel free to reach out to us later, or you can check it out on our website. To give everybody who's maybe not familiar with the product kind of a sense of scale and what markets Fieldwire operates in, we really are used worldwide. We're used on over 1 million different projects, and our biggest markets are North America, Europe, and New Zealand/Australia, but we are used in other countries. The types of projects we're involved in, it's kind of cool from my perspective, but it really covers a broad spectrum. Ranges from single family custom homes to airports, hospitals, and some of the mega projects you see listed here on this slide. So with that done, we're going to get into a live demonstration, kind of showcase a specific use case that I think could be useful for general contractors. The idea today is kind of show off some of the features in Fieldwire and give you an idea about how you could start using it on your projects to manage and track work. So we'll flip on over here to Fieldwire. So if you can see this, I'm logged into Fieldwire on my web browser. And if you've never been here before or never used Fieldwire, this is within an actual project. So I'm on this Fieldwire for GCs project right here. And up on the top left of this screen, we see all the different tools or modules in Fieldwire that are available. Highlighted in blue is the Plans tab, and that's what we're looking at over on the right-hand side here. So we're seeing all our different drawings on our project, sorted and divided up by individual plan sheets. That's these little thumbnails right here, and sorted into folders. So we can click on one of these plan sheets to pop it open. Just like you might expect from a PDF viewer here, right? We can pan around, zoom in and out, and view this drawing. A couple things that are a little different from a standard PDF viewer. We actually, if you look at these pink icons on our elevation and detail callouts, Fieldwire will automatically create hyperlinks between your plan sheets for ease of navigation. You'll also notice some bubbles, some notes, and just some kind of general plan markups here. We have a number of different markup tools, all of them available on our markup toolbar on the left-hand side here. So you can add notes to your drawings, you can attach files to them, you can even scale them and do linear or area takeoffs. Now we're not going to be getting too in-depth into these plan markup tools today. Like I said, we've done some webinars and have lots of resources on these on our website if you want to learn more. Instead, we're going to be focusing on different type of markup. And that's these teardrop shaped little pins here. And that's what we call tasks. So let's pop one of these open and take a look at it. Now, a task, if you're not familiar with it, is a really versatile tool. It's kind of a catch-all way in Fieldwire of tracking any to-do item on a project. This could be something from your master project schedule, like a key milestone. It could be a punch list item, or it could be as simple as you're walking around site one day and you see a huge mess in a corner that needs to get cleaned up. Instead of sending a message or calling the guy, you could just create a task, assign it to your foreman, and do that in Fieldwire. They're also a great way of kind of tracking things like photos and progress, and just a good general way of coordinating and communicating within your team. They can replace phone calls, text messages, and emails that sometimes get lost in the shuffle of things. So looking at a specific example, this task here we're using to track the progress in a particular room towards drywall installation. So we're tracking the whole progress from framing, doing our MEP rough-ins, and installing drywall. At the top here, we have a brief title describing what this is. And down below here, we see a checklist outlining all the different steps required to get us ready for drywall installation. On the right here, we have what we call task attributes. And these are different ways of kind of describing what this task is. And they're really useful for giving us an overview of where this item's at, who's responsible for it. And later on, they'll be useful when we have hundreds of tasks on a project to find and filter specific ones. So status here, you've marked this, we're done framing, we're done roughing in, ready for drywall. Category, I've just set this up as, these are all customizable, so are the statuses. And I've just set this up as the different scopes or trades on the job. So since it's ready for drywall right now, we've marked this one down as drywall. Assignee is any user on Fieldwire that's currently responsible for it. It's their action item on this task. It's kind of their ball in court to deal with next. Moving on down here, we have a few other attributes that are useful for kind of sorting and finding things. Key one to note is the watchers here. So this is any user on Fieldwire we want to get copied on when we make a change to this. Looking on down here on the left, this messages section, you can kind of think of like a timeline. Describes all the changes that were made to this task. It shows you when they were made and by whom. You can also add different notes in here like messages. You can add in photos. You can see here there are different subcontractors on this project have been kind of using this to communicate with each other, go back and forth with a few questions. Going down to the bottom here, we see we've attached a file. This is where we can add messages or attach things like photos, files, forms, a couple other items here. So on this project, let's pretend that we're building a school. We've set up the structure's all done, the building's weather tight, and we're ready to start framing, do our rough-ins, and install drywall in all these classrooms. So we've made a task in each of these rooms to track progress towards that, just like we were looking at here. Let's look at what that would look like to fill out if you were a subcontractor or superintendent on site. So let's say this one's ready for framing now, and we want to go tell our framing contractor, say their foreman's Bob over here, that this room is ready for him. I assigned it to Bob. I'm going to flip over to my iPad now where I'm actually signed in as Bob. And let's say Bob's out on site, he's got Fieldwire on his phone or tablet. He's going to get that notification on his device that this task has been assigned to him. He'll also get it by email. And you can pop that open and quickly see what's going on. So you can say, hey, drywall install. You can click on this little thumbnail and see the exact area where it is, so there's no confusion. And you can click on this and go fill out his part. Let's say he's done framing this room. You can just check, oh, wrong one there, check off framing complete. You can also add a little message to describe what he's done. You click on this bubble at the bottom left. You can type a message here, or if you're like me and you have fat fingers, you can use the little microphone icon next to the space bar and use the voice to text. Work in this room is complete, ready for electrician. You can also snap a picture to document the work that was done just by clicking this camera tool here. Have to use your imagination. I'm just taking a picture of our office right here. We've added photos documenting work to the task. If I click on one of these afterwards, I could even mark it up. Maybe, you know, later on, if I was installing backing, I could add in a dimension here, kind of noting where the backing was installed as a reference for the next person down the road when drywall's all done, so they know where that backing was. You can now go ahead and tag the next person in line, the electrician, that this room is ready for them. Let's say that's Josh here. Ready for you. And that way we've communicated to that other subcontractor, the electrician, the room's ready for them. If I hit on edit here, I'll see all my task attributes. I'll see that assignee was updated. I'm going to change the status here to rough-in. I'll change that category to electrical. I could do that using that same @ symbol there as a shortcut. I just wanted to show the task attributes on the mobile view here. Now flipping back to the web, we're going to see the changes that Bob made on his iPad here. Just hit refresh real quick. And we'll look at this icon here. So this was the task we changed on mobile, and you can see that the colors actually changed because we updated the status to rough-in. So just from there, you get a good kind of overview of where each area is at on your job. You can see here all the changes Bob made, updated instantly across all, for any user on the platform. So kind of going back to here, I think what's nice about this is that, you know, when we updated that, the next person knows the room is ready for them. If you have all your subcontractors, your team, even the owners or architects on Fieldwire, and all get some visibility into where the job's at. It's also kind of nice here, like the example I was giving of showing where your backing is. You can take progress photos as you go and complete work. So later on, you have good documentation about, what you installed in those walls once everything's all done and boarded up. Another example where that could be useful is for taking pictures of your fire stopping. If you ever need down the road to prove to somebody that it was done correctly, like a building inspector, you can go quickly open up these tasks and find those photos and understand exactly where they were taken. I'll get into this later, but you can even export all these photos from your tasks in a nice tidy report for record purposes and hand that off to somebody at the end of the job. Now that we've kind of looked at how you can use tasks there to track progress, look at a couple other ideas for using them. So we can also use tasks to document items that are an issue or they're holding us up on the job. So let's take a look at this task in orange right here. We're using this to document a constraint, something that's stopping us from doing work on this floor. So here you see here in the title, supply air duct clash with conduit run. Down here, we added a brief description, right? So what we've installed on site doesn't match our 3D model. The electrician needs to reroute their conduits, and we've taken a picture of it here. Over on the right, we made our task attributes a little bit different. So we're tagging this as an open constraint, and we're categorizing this and assigning it to the electrician. We've also marked in our tags down here that this is a constraint item. This is just kind of a different way of kind of describing this task and delineating it and separating it from those other tasks we're using to track progress. Tags are a great way of classifying your tasks, and they're really useful for looking them up later. Also note here that this is related to another task. So we can link tasks together. And here, this task represents the progress in this washroom at the southeast corner. And we've noted here, can't proceed with our mechanical rough-ins. It's held up. And we've created this separate constraint task to document it. And now kind of flip over to our iPad again and show how we could do that same thing, create a task to track a constraint or other issue just while we're out on site. So let's say I'm the electrical foreman and the framings, I just got a notification that the framing's been complete in this kindergarten room. I'm gonna click on this task here. All right, you can see it's done, I see the photo. But maybe I walk in and it's just a mess. It's full of drywall materials. I can't get my ladders in or lifts in. I can't work in there. It's a real problem. So rather than sending the GC superintendent an email or going talking to him, I can document this in Fieldwire and everybody's going to be able to see it. We're keeping track of it and it's not getting forgotten. I'm going to click on this plus button here to create a related task. I'm going to enter in a title. Say drywall mess. I'm going to mark this as an open constraint. I'm going to assign it out to our drywall contractor. That looks good there. And then I'm going to tag this as a constraint item. Going back here, just add a quick message. This needs to get cleaned up before I can start work. And we'll snap a photo to document it. And just like that, we've tracked our constraint. And it's all in Fieldwire. Everybody can see it. It's a little bit even more convenient in that sense than sending an email or doing that with a phone call. Just to kind of note, we don't just have to create tasks that are related to other ones. If I want to just create a task, let's say I'm walking around and see a defect that needs to get solved, I can just go to our markup toolbar here, click on this task pin icon, tap wherever I see that issue, and go and fill out this task to document what's going on. And change the status here. In this case, I'd probably make this a defect and tag this as punch or whatever else I'm using to classify my punch list items or defects. So really, just like the constraints, you can use tasks to track pretty much anything. Flipping back to our computer view here, right? If we open up this task, we see that related task that we just created on the mobile device. So it's all here for everyone to see. I'm kind of keeping everything in Fieldwire. For one, it doesn't get lost in the shuffle of things. And just kind of is a way, if you have everybody on the platform, to kind of collaborate with each other, kind of promotes accountability and transparency as well. Everybody knows what's going on the project at any given time. Now that we've kind of gone through some ways that you can create tasks, document things, use them to track progress, I wanted to talk about some of the filtering options we have available. This is a good way to filter and find tasks. So when we look here, this filter button at the top right, we now leverage those task attributes we're using to find specific tasks or information. So say we want to look at, maybe just everything that's in this drywall category that our drywall contractor has open right now. You apply that filter here, and we'll just see those items highlighted and listed out along here. Likewise, clear filters, we could go and filter by status to just see all our open constraint items on this current plan. One other thing I wanted to touch on before we move down to the task tab, just a couple other things that we can attach here. So we don't have a ton of time here, we're a little short, tight to go into detail. I didn't want to just touch on forms. So here I've actually created a form as a sign off for a wall closures. I know some general contractors like to get their trades to sign off before they do boarding, just to confirm that they've done all their work before they get closed up. So you can actually create a custom form to track that here, photos, signatures, and so on and so forth. All these fields are customizable, so you could build this out to suit your needs. This is an example of what it would look like when you export it. It's kind of in a nice tidy PDF format with your logo up at the top. Moving on here and kind of getting back to our filters, clear this out. And we'll jump back down to our task tab. So this is where we can see all the different tasks on a project laid out into columns by status. It's going to be kind of a useful thing to pull up when you're having foreman's meetings, even owners meetings, to get an overview of where everything's at on your project. Unlike a whiteboard or maybe a board with sticky notes in your site trailer, that's kind of like static and stuff. With this, you can view it once you leave the trailer while you're out on site, and people can continually update things as they change. Just like we saw in the plans tab here, we can still filter out tasks by any of those attributes we were entering. For example, let's say we have to have level 2, floor 2 of building A done next week, drywall installed. We can go and filter out and just see those tasks in that location and kind of talk about where we're at. So if we're pulling this up at a foreman's meeting, we'd see, oh, it's a bit of a problem here. We still have a lot of areas that are in the framing stage. And we have a couple open constraints holding us up in this floor that we need to talk about. Clear those out here. Take a look at a couple other different task views. So right now we're on the Kanban view here, but if I flip over and go and look at what we call our calendar view, and this is where you can see things laid out by date. So if you're entering in start and end dates onto your tasks, you can go and view that in a calendar format. I think that's really useful for if you want to kind of do 3 to 6 week look ahead planning with Fieldwire. Like I was saying earlier, you can schedule your entire projects using Fieldwire tasks. I think where a lot of people use it and it really shows is even more useful is for that granular detailed planning, kind of short term, like 3 to 6 weeks. Similarly to a calendar view, you can also see this information laid out by date in Gantt chart format. And then at the back here, tool I really like to look at is kind of like our graphs tab. This gives you kind of a higher level overview and report on where things are at in your project. So here you can see laid out by category, how many tasks are in each of our categories. So how many tasks are currently in the drywaller's court and the status of each. So they have 13 that need to get framed, a couple of constraints in their court to deal with, and 3 areas that are ready for drywall. We can group these by assignee, plan, or even location. So you can see how many items are outstanding by area. Just like all these other task views up here, we can filter out tasks on any of these to just view specific items. Lastly, before we finish off here, I want to talk about another feature, generate reports, which I think is pretty useful for sharing information with people who aren't on Fieldwire or just kind of documenting things for record. So our generate reports tool here allows you to export reports or lists essentially of your tasks. So over on our right here, we have these same task filters that are going to let us decide which tasks we want to include in our report. On the left, we have a few different types of report. PDF summary gives us a quick overview of what it is. PDF detailed has a little more information, and CSV is in spreadsheet format. Taking a look at this PDF detailed, show an example of what this looks like. We have our cover page, table of contents, and then for each task, we have a little mini map showing where it is, and photos and messages with time and date stamps. This could be useful, for example, if you want to export a list of progress photos showing all your fire stop and what you put behind your walls at the end of the job. You could even set up your filters here for open constraint items that are assigned to your owner. And you can even set this up to be sent out on a regular basis to specific recipients. So you can kind of automate your follow-ups or reports you want to send out. That's it for the demonstration. Hopefully you can kind of see that this is a really variable process. You can set it up and customize it to fit your needs. This just kind of give you an idea of some of the things you can do in Fieldwire. The same workflow could apply to other stages in a project, like concrete slab pour, or when you're installing finishes in rooms at the end of the job. And with that done, we'll flip back over to our deck here and open it up to questions from the audience.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Stephen. I think that was a great demonstration on how GCs can get some good use out of Fieldwire. And we'll just take a couple questions now. So the first one is, when adding photos to tasks, will all photos also be added to the main photo library?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer is yes. So when you add a photo to a task, you're going to be able to go down to this photo tab here. And like we see with the ones I took, all those photos are shown. If you click on one of these photos, you can click on this little arrow button, and it'll actually take you to the task that it's linked to. Great question there.
Perfect. Thank you. And the next question is, does Bob, in parentheses, or any sub that we are assigned a task or any subs that are assigned a task and coordinating a task need to be a user in that project in Fieldwire?
Yes, they do need to be a user on that project.
Perfect. Yeah. And then another one here, is there a way to communicate a constraint in a private conversation with limited stakeholders to avoid conflicts between trades?
Yeah, that's a good question too. So there is a way to do that. You would just be kind of careful about who you're assigning it to. So, and the permission levels you have. So you would just want to kind of keep it assigned to, and the watchers limited to just the people you want to see that particular item. And then you'd want to think about the permission levels you have on Fieldwire. So here down on our People's tab, we have a list of all the users on the job. And notice under Access, these are different permission levels. So admins and members can see all tasks, so they can see all constraints on the job. But if you put them down as followers, so maybe you make all your subcontractors followers, which is pretty common permission level for GCs to assign their subs, then only followers are only able to see tasks that their watcher or assignee on. So by making everybody a follower and limiting who's on that task, you can restrict it. We have a good help article on our website right over here. It kind of just goes through the differences between these three permission levels in detail if you're interested. Good question.
All right, perfect. I think we might have time for one more. Let's see. One quick one here. Is the calendar view available in the mobile version?
That's a good question. Unfortunately, it is not, but it's only available from the web. You can still view it, like I'm on the app right now. You can, on a mobile device, just sign into Fieldwire from your web browser, like from Safari or Chrome. And if you do it that way, then you'll still be able to access the calendar. But just to kind of make the mobile app quick and seamless, the calendar is not available on mobile.
Got it. Cool. Well, I think that's about time for us, so we'll wrap it up. Just again, want to reiterate that any questions that were not answered during the webinar will be answered by our team afterwards. And then we'll send out the deck from this webinar as well as the recording. And then you'll also be receiving an email with the survey. And we're just looking for your honest feedback, and would appreciate any input that you all have. We also have a couple webinars coming up in the near future, so please keep an eye out for those, as they're listed right here on the screen. And that is it from us. Thank you guys for joining.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
All right, bye.